Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to talk about how Nintex is helping to make it easy for you to mobilize your business processes with Nintex Mobile and Nintex App Studio. Just a quick little bit of info about who I am before we get started. My name is Nicole Presby. I'm a senior SharePoint consultant here at Able Solutions, where Nintex is one of my primary areas of expertise. Able Solutions is one of Nintex's premier partners, and we've had a very close relationship for many years. Because of the work I've been able to do here at Able, I'm also a virtual technical evangelist for Nintex, which basically means that I'm active in community events, I handle the pre-sales demos and discussions for Able Solutions, and I head up our Nintex consulting and training service offerings. My blog is listed there. Feel free to check it out. I post tips and tricks to help you on your SharePoint and Nintex journey. And for more information about Able Solutions or Nintex, you can check out the websites listed at the bottom of this slide. Follow us on Twitter or contact us directly, and I'll share some contact information with you at the end of our webinar today. So one quick plug, one example of those community events that I was mentioning is InspireX, which is the Nintex customer and user conference that was just held in New Orleans last week. Stay tuned. I plan to write a blog post about some of the exciting announcements from this past week and new features that are on the horizon. Now, if you missed this year's event, or if you attended and had a blast like I did, then go ahead and mark your calendar for February 26th through 28th, 2018, when the third annual conference is going to be held in sunny San Diego, California. The website that's on the slide likely still has details from this year's event, but if you're interested, it can definitely give you an idea of what you can expect for next year. Now on to the agenda for today. We will start with just a few slides to cover a quick overview of the Nintex product suite for those who may not be familiar. Then we'll jump into a brief overview and demo of the standard Nintex Mobile functionality. We'll talk through exactly what the Nintex Mobile offering is, and then we'll see a demo of the app itself, as well as take a look at how you can quickly and easily publish your Nintex forms directly to the app from the Nintex Forms Designer within your SharePoint environment. After that, we will switch our focus to the new Nintex App Studio, which was previously called Nintex Mobile Enterprise. And I like to mention that because you may see that name associated with some of the documentation and resources that you find online when you start diving into Nintex App Studio. So again, we'll start with a brief overview, followed by a demo of the custom app for our intranet framework ShareNet is the example that we'll show today. And then finally, we'll take a look behind the curtain to see how the custom app was created with Nintex App Studio. And then, of course, we'll wrap up with a bit of Q&A. Now, for those of you who may be newer to Nintex, I just want to give a quick overview of everything that the Nintex platform currently has to offer. First, we have Nintex Workflow, which allows you to build out and automate your business processes quickly and easily. Nintex Forms provides a user interface to kick off those workflows with powerful business logic built right into the data capture stage. Nintex Mobile is what we're going to dive into today, and that extends your workflows and forms so that users can stay connected no matter where they are and take their processes on the go with them. Nintex Hawkeye Workflow Analytics provides the ability to get a 30,000-foot view of every inch of every workflow in your organization. Nintex App Studio, which we're also going to dive into today, is going to extend the Nintex Mobile capabilities by allowing you to create custom, targeted, and powerful mobile applications. Nintex Document Generation simplifies and automates document generation using dynamic process data. And one side note, our last webinar was actually a deep dive into the Doc Gen action for Nintex for Office 365. So you can go watch it on our Able Solutions LLC YouTube channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe so that you get our updates when we post new videos. And then finally, we've got several Nintex connectors which allow for seamless integration to other cloud-based applications that your organization may be using, essentially allowing you to create workflows without boundaries. All right, so let's jump in and get started with a quick look at Nintex Mobile. If you've been working with Nintex for a while, then you're probably pretty comfortable and familiar with the idea of capturing data from a user via Nintex Forms, and then automating business processes behind that form with Nintex Workflow. However, what you may not be aware of is that with your Nintex Forms license, you also have access to Nintex Mobile, which allows you to address the needs of your mobile workers, basically enabling users to interact with any process from any device, no matter where they are. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to jump into kind of a deep dive of all of these high-level features, but if you'd like to review a more detailed discussion of some of these great features that are available with the Nintex Mobile app, I encourage you to check out the recording of our What's New with Nintex webinar, which is posted on our Able Solutions YouTube channel. So let's take a look at this in action. So I've got my phone here. I'm just going to drag it over and make it nice and big for y'all to see. There we go. Alright, so here I've got my iPhone, and in my productivity folder you'll notice that I have an app at the top left called Nintex Mobile. Now it's worth mentioning that I'm demoing from an iPhone, but keep in mind Nintex Mobile is available for iOS, Android, Windows, and Windows Phone. So if you go to the App Store for your device, you should find the Nintex Mobile app, which is a free download. Now when I click my Nintex Mobile app, I'm first presented with all of the workflow tasks that are currently assigned to me. This is going to allow me to quickly and easily complete my workflow tasks without having to go through the browser or log into SharePoint each time. So I would simply click on the task that I need to complete, select my option, my outcome, and then submit it on through, and that's going to move my workflow along. Now if I click the menu option at the top left, I have a few different options. In addition to my workflow tasks, I also have access to any of the forms within my various SharePoint sites that I've authenticated into with my app. This can include both on-prem and Office 365. So what's great is that everything in the Nintex Mobile app is going to respect the SharePoint permissions for your site. So users only see forms that they are allowed to submit. So to submit requests through the Nintex Mobile app, I can simply click on my forms from the menu and then choose which form I'd like to submit. So for example, let's say I'm an employee in the field and I need to submit a safety inspection form. So I'm out in the field and I've noticed a safety issue that I need to report, so I can just open up my safety inspection form, and when the form opens I can go ahead and fill in all of the necessary information. Now while the form allows us to capture basic information like text fields, dates, people, in the interest of time I'm not going to fill out each field in our form, but instead I want to highlight a few of the more advanced pieces of functionality that our app offers. So first of all, we've got geolocation. So if I tap on this little locator icon here, it's going to automatically capture my current location, and in this case we have a workflow which is going to translate our geolocation to a street address when the form is submitted. So that's why I've got this disabled address field just below. And obviously I could hide that address field from my submittal form since I know it's going to be auto-populated from my workflow. Now the next thing that our Nintex app is going to support is our repeating data. So if you're familiar with Nintex forms, you know we've got this repeating section capability which essentially allows you to capture dynamic rows of data. So in this case, let's say there's several different items which are kind of in play here with our safety inspection. So I can actually click to enter one of my items. And one of the coolest features is that we have this barcode scanning technology built right in. So if I click on my barcode scanner, I've got my can here. So if I hover over that, that's going to go ahead and automatically scan in that barcode, pull my item ID. I can note that as bad. This is something wrong with this can. Back it up, and now I've got that line item entered into my list of items. Now, in addition, I can go ahead and add another item, and I don't have to use the barcode scanner, so if I know the item ID, I can just manually type that in, make some notes about it, and now I've got however many items I need to capture right inside my mobile app. Now, the last thing I want to point out is that we also have the option for attachments. So we can actually upload attachments right from our device, either from our photo library or by taking pictures on the fly. You can even add annotations directly to the photos so that you can call attention to specific areas or include notes directly on the attachments that are going to be uploaded with the request. Now what's really great, and you've probably noticed if you're familiar with iPhone at all, is that since the Nintex mobile apps are native to your device, the experience is going to be the same as you're used to with other apps on your device. So I'm just going to close that form, and actually it gives me the option to save a draft. So I'm going to choose Save Draft, and then quickly jumping back to our menu, we see that we've got a few additional buckets. First of all, drafts. Nintex Mobile gives you the ability to save draft versions of your form. So if you're filling out a form like I just was, but you need to gather some additional data, or maybe you get pulled away for a meeting, you can save a draft, like I just did with my safety inspection form, and come back later to pick up where you left off. So if I choose draft, here I see my safety inspection form that I was filling out earlier, I could come back into it, open it up, pick up where I left off, and then submit it on through. Next is the outbox. So one of the most important features of Nintex Mobile is that you can fill out your forms even when you're offline. So let's say you're flying back for a business trip and you want to go ahead and submit your expense report. Or maybe your business trip was super exhausting and you want to go ahead and submit a request for vacation. Now you need some time off. You complete both those requests and submit them through while you're on the plane back home. And what will happen is the forms will be stored in the outbox until you get off the plane and connect to the internet again. And at that point, they'll be submitted to the SharePoint environment and the respective processes will kick off as needed. Then we see we've got sent. So this is pretty self-explanatory. This is going to give me a listing of all the forms I've submitted through my app. But there's one very cool feature available for you. You can actually create copies of submitted forms. So let's say I want to submit a job requisition for a position that's very similar to the one that I've previously submitted. I can actually use this one as a starting point, and I simply choose the copy option, and then I can just edit that copy of my form and submit that through as a new request. So I can make whatever few minor changes that I want, submit that through as a new request, and I'm off and running. So that can be a really great time-saving resource. It's a very cool feature that they've given us. Now back to my menu. In addition to those buckets that we see listed here, you can also manage your app settings at the top. And part of what that includes is you can manage your SharePoint profile, your SharePoint accounts that you'd like to connect with. So in my case, and it's worth mentioning too, you can actually connect your app to multiple different environments at once and connect those to your profile. So in my case, I'm actually currently connected to one of our on-prem 2013 environments as well as our Office 365 tenant. So all of my forms from those environments become available to me in a single location through this app, which is pretty cool and pretty powerful stuff. All right, so now let's take a quick look at how you can make forms available to your mobile users via this mobile app. So that's cool and all. That's cool that your forms are there in that app, but how did you get them there? Let's take a look at that. All right, so let me get my phone out of the way here for you guys. All right. So here we are in the Nintex Forms Designer for my safety inspection form that we were just interacting with on our app. And right now we're looking at the default desktop version of the form, which has some minor styling applied. Not too heavily branded, but just some minor styling. Now on the right-hand side, we see we've got a few different layouts that have been created. So we've got the smartphone layout, which basically will be displayed to users who access the form through the browser on a smartphone. Essentially, it's just kind of reorganized to eliminate any of that horizontal scrolling that's fairly unpleasant to our mobile users. But then we also see that we've got a device layout for Nintex Mobile Phone and Nintex Mobile Tablet. And essentially, these are the layouts which are going to specifically tell this form to render in the Nintex Mobile app. Now, as you can see, the little bit of branding that we did have on the browser version has been stripped away to simplify the rendering within the native app that we were just looking at. And then one other thing I want to point out while we're in the Forms Designer is the ability to categorize my forms in the app. So you may have noticed when we were looking at the app, there was an HR category, my safety inspection form was actually listed under an operations category, etc. So you can actually define those groupings right here through Form Settings, and then there's the option for Nintex Mobile Settings. So here's where I've given it a category that I want it to appear under, and then we can also set a custom name and a description that'll appear. So what this starts to do is, as you get more and more forms published to your Nintex Mobile app, it can become a little bit unruly, right? You want to give some type of organization around it so that your users, when they're going in there, aren't just totally overwhelmed with the amount of forms that are presented to them. Great. So now let's talk about Nintex App Studio, again, formerly known as Nintex Mobile Enterprise or NME. Nintex App Studio takes this idea of mobilizing your work step one step further and gives you the ability to quickly and easily create custom branded native mobile applications that work seamlessly with Nintex Workflow and Nintex Forms. Essentially, Nintex App Studio gives you the ability to create tailored mobile experiences for your users and your organization, and this is the best part for me, without writing a single line of code. Now again, definitely check out our previous webinar, What's New with Nintex, for a more in-depth discussion of these great features. But for this webinar, I really just want to jump in and take a look. Okay, so let me get my phone back up here. Get that out of the way. Make our phone nice and big for y'all. So now back on my iPhone, back in my productivity folder, you'll notice that right next to my Nintex Mobile app at the top is an app called ShareNet. So this is an example of one of these custom branded apps that we've created via the Nintex App Studio. So the first thing that you'll notice is that we've got our custom logo in place as the app icon as opposed to the standard Nintex logo. So I'm just going to click and open my ShareNet app. And when we open the app, the underlying functionality is actually really similar to what we saw with the regular Nintex app, with our buckets for draft, outbox, sent forms, etc. But we see that the app's been styled to coordinate with our branding scheme. And we're only seeing a filtered subset of forms from our environments. Now what I mean by that is that our ShareNet demo site, which I'm currently connected to for this custom app, lives in the same Office 365 tenant as we were connected to in our Nintex app demo that we were just looking at. But in this case, we're only seeing 2 forms out of that environment, which I've specified to be relevant to this tailored mobile experience. Now this example is focused on ShareNet, which is Able Solutions' out-of-the-box framework that allows for the rapid and inexpensive implementation of a business intranet. But there are so many possibilities for how you can leverage this functionality to enable your mobile users. Because essentially, Nintex App Studio is going to allow you to create line of business targeted or process-specific apps to give your business users access to only the forms and workflows that are relevant to them. So what does that mean? So maybe you need to create an app just for the sales team to use while they're out on the road, meeting with prospects and clients, and we want to give them forms that they can easily capture leads, submit RFPs, expense reports, etc., and then kick off the underlying processes while they're out on the road doing what we need them to do. So in that scenario, we might only provide this app to our sales team, not to every employee in the company, and it's going to be tailored with only the forms that are relevant to what they're doing. Another example could be an app specifically for HR forms, where employees, almost like a self-service portal kind of thing, where employees can submit personal requests like PTO, and then the app could be included maybe on company-issued iPhones that all employees are onboarded with. Now what I love about all of this is that you can create these custom mobile experiences using tools that you're already familiar with. So with Nintex Workflow, Nintex Forms, and the very intuitive App Studio. So now that we've got some context around what the final product is, let's take a look at just how quick and easy it is to create, deploy, and manage custom apps with Nintex App Studio. So once again, let's just jump back over here. We'll get my phone out of the way. All right. Now what we're looking at here is the Nintex App Studio. Essentially, it's kind of your portal for managing these custom apps that you're going to deliver to your customers, or your internal customers, right? At the top here, I've got this quick option to create a new app, so it makes it super easy to get started. And then just below that, we can see the apps that I've already created. So here we see my ShareNet app, and then below that, I've got another kind of general Nintex demo app that I've already created. And if I hover over my ShareNet app, this is where I can make changes as well as manage deployment to my users, and we have the option to deploy either via an MDM solution or a distribution list, which we'll take a look at in a bit. So let's go ahead and choose Edit to walk through kind of the app configurations and the steps that we would go through to create and manage our custom app. The first thing that we notice is that on the right-hand side, we see this very cool preview functionality. So this is showing us how our app is shaping up as we make changes to the configuration on the left-hand side. So we see it's taking on our colors. We've got our logo in place, kind of where those colors are going to be applied. So this is really cool. For an ex-graphic designer like me, this is a very cool feature that I love. Now over on the left-hand side, stepping through the configuration options, the first section we have is our general settings. So we can give a name to our app, so we've called our ShareNet, provide it with the description, and then provide a URL scheme. So the URL scheme is what we're going to use for deep linking, which basically allows us to provide users with a link that will, for instance, automatically open a specific form in our app, maybe deliver a custom loading or submission message, do some redirecting, etc. So that we can define our URL scheme for that there. Now when we expand the account section, you have several options that you can specify how your users should authenticate into the app. Now as you can see, the options include corporate, a Microsoft account, Office 365, and Nintex Workflow Cloud, which, if you're not familiar, Nintex Workflow Cloud is Nintex's latest addition to their platform, and it allows you to automate business processes between systems and completely separate from SharePoint if needed. So this is going to be a really, really powerful tool that's kind of up and coming and can change the game, I think. So now what this account section means is that when users are opening and logging into your app on the device, they don't have to worry about typing in a URL, entering their domain, and so on. They just type in their username and their password, and they're off and running with all the forms that they have access to in a specified SharePoint environment. And you'll notice here that there's a maximum of 5 accounts that can be specified. So what's very cool about this is that you can actually create an app accommodating for your hybrid environment. Or maybe you've got multiple on-prem environments, but you have kind of things that live in those various different environments that you need to pull together to create this specific mobile experience. So you can give your users a single app experience to access forms, interact with processes across your multiple environments. Now in the case of ShareNet, all of our relevant forms live in a single environment in Office 365, so that's just what we've got specified here. Now onto platforms. So platforms is about what devices your users will be accessing the app with. So some companies may have a, bring your own device policy. So you may need to make the app available for Android, iPhone, iPad, Windows Phone, the whole kind of kit and caboodle, right? Or maybe your company issues corporate iPhones, in which case the only platform you need to worry about building the app for might be for iPhone and iPad. In our case, we've selected Androids and iPhones because those are the most common that our users are going to be interacting with. Now onto the artwork section. So this is where we start to get into some of the custom branding and essentially removing that default Nintex look and feel that we experienced in our first demo today. There are 4 different images that you can upload throughout the custom app, and it's actually showing us kind of little screenshots of where these images are going to be used, right? So when the app gets deployed, where these images are going to be placed, and we'll also see those reflected over here in our preview on the right-hand side. One thing to note, these all need to be PNG files, and they all have to be the exact kind of file size that's specified here. So make sure you take note of that. The next piece that kind of is centered around creating this custom brand is our theming. So this is kind of one of the newer features of Nintex App Studio, and you can actually kind of further customize your branding by selecting either one of the provided themes. So we've got 8 out-of-the-box themes that come with App Studio, or you can do what I've done here, and an ex-designer control freak like me might like to create a custom theme so that I can make sure that the colors that I select are going to match my corporate color scheme exactly, right? I don't want to pick something that's close. I want to make sure it's exact. So you have those options all available to you, which is very, very powerful stuff. All right, now onto our forms section. So this is going to allow us to specify forms basically that should be either blacklisted or whitelisted from my app. So we can either choose to show, kind of like our generic Nintex Mobile app was showing all the forms from the environment that we connected to, but probably more likely what you're going to want to do with these custom experiences is, tailor to specific lines of business, specific processes, and so this is going to make it more easy for users to digest. So for our example, my Nintex Mobile app that I showed you earlier on is actually, like I said, connected to the same environment as my ShareNet app, but as you can see, I've told my ShareNet app to only include these 2 specific forms instead of all of them across the environment. You also have the option up here to change the form's label. So Let's say if you remember back to our menu, the kind of menu item, the menu bucket of forms, I can actually change how that displays, right? So maybe I want it to be called data entry or requests or something more customized. I can start to customize even to that level of my user experience. And then the same type of kind of filtering and customization options are available for tasks within the app. However, it's important to note that tasks are not currently supported with Office 365 through Nintex Mobile. So just keep that in mind, but forms are fully supported. All right, so once I've finished customizing and configuring my app, I would choose Save and Build over here on the right-hand side, and that's going to go ahead and build my app. Now, it usually takes about 10 or 20 minutes, and then you'll get an email with links for all your platforms you specified. And then from there, we've got two options of how we can deploy the app to our users. So if I click back to my Nintex App Studio landing page, and then I hover over my ShareNet app again, I can click on App Deploy this time, and this is going to present me with a couple of options for deployment. So first of all, we can deploy using an MDM, so a mobile device management piece of software, something like MS Intune, Good, Mobile Iron, etc. And this is going to let us control things like required VPN connections, added security, etc. Right? The second deployment option, so maybe if you don't have an MDM available to you at your organization, you can actually manage email distribution lists and deploy that way. So you can manage your distribution list, send the email to all the users in that list when there's a new version of the app. They just tap on that link and then can install the app directly onto their phone. And then you see there's also this option to auto-deploy, which is going to send an email immediately anytime a new version is available, either from Nintex or from you, the developer. And just like that, you can create a custom branded app, deploy it to your users, all without a single line of code, which to me is some pretty great stuff. So with that, here's the promised contact information if you'd like more information on Nintex Mobile, App Studio, or if we can help you determine if you've already got access to some of these great features. Because like I said, some of this may be included in your current license with Nintex already. So now we have time. Let's take a few questions. The first one that has come through is this available for on-prem and Office 365? So yes, both Nintex Mobile that we looked at first and Nintex App Studio are available for Nintex on-prem 2010, 2013, 2016, and SharePoint Online, and that new Nintex Workflow Cloud, which I was mentioning. And like I said, the only difference currently is that tasks are not supported for Office 365. So if you're connecting up to your O365 environment, you won't necessarily be able to pull those tasks into the app and interact with them just yet, but that is coming soon, I'm sure. What devices can I use Nintex Mobile on? So again, mobile is available for iOS, Android, Windows Phone. The regular Nintex Mobile app is a free download. If you just go to the App Store for your device, you can go ahead and grab that. And then the App Studio, which we just saw, there's a few ways that you can deploy that out to your users. Okay, and then we've got the ever common pricing question. So what's the price? So Nintex Mobile is actually, like I said, available with your Nintex Forms license. And that's regardless of whether you're on the new subscription licensing model or if you're on the legacy kind of on-prem licensing model. Nintex Mobile's included with your Forms license. Now, Nintex App Studio is going to be available with the Enterprise subscription plan. So if you are on that Enterprise subscription plan, then you also already have access to this really great functionality to create these custom apps and these custom tailored experiences for your users. How many apps can I create with Nintex App Studio? So you can actually create as many as you need to. So if you've got the Enterprise subscription, you get Nintex App Studio and you can create as many custom tailored apps as you need to for your different lines of businesses, your different departments, your different processes, so you can just go crazy. And then I think we've got one more here. So, okay, so I get this one every time too. Is Nintex Mobile secure? Basically, short answer, yes. Long answer, it's going to somewhat depend on the operating system for your device as to how that securing kind of happens. Now, there is an FAQs article on Nintex Connect, so if you do a search for Nintex Mobile FAQs or Nintex Mobile Secure, you'll find kind of an FAQ article that goes into a little bit more detail about how that security is handled. But short answer is yes, our Nintex Mobile and Nintex App Studio apps are going to be secure. All right, so with that, I think that's all the questions that have come in. We are right on time. And I thank you guys all for your time today. And we look forward to hearing from you if you've got questions, if we can help you with any of this. And until next time, thanks so much.